Hello and welcome back to On Your Beauty. Today's video is going to be a review of the Makeup Revolution Ultra Cover and Conceal palette. Now it's generally nice and shiny, but I keep picking it up and putting it down, so it's all covered in fingerprints. So I have the light to medium palette and it comes with 8 shades, starting with your lightest here all the way along to the darkest here. Now I've done a review, or a wee video I should say, of me applying this. I have some blemishes around my mouth at the minute, along my jawline, around my nose is a wee bit red, and I have a few blemishes just below my nose, and I have one spot just come up on my jaw. So I've used the lightest shade to apply all over my spots, and I have used a Real Techniques Deluxe Crease Brush to apply it, almost stippling it on, so I'm just pouncing it onto the skin. I find this is the best way to apply it for me. I generally will dab it in, dab a wee bit onto the back of my hand, and then apply it to this spot. This is the closest colour on in the palette, I should say, to my skin. It's not light enough in my opinion, but it's the closest one there. So I've used that to cover my blemishes. I find the best thing with this palette is to use a very light hand. So although it says it's full coverage and whatever else, you can definitely give a fuller coverage, or sorry, ultra cover, which would imply pretty full coverage. You can get full coverage, but you have to be very, very careful because it borders on being cakey if you apply too much. It's very easy to end up looking cakey, or end up having cakey patches maybe with this concealer. So use a very, very light hand if you do have this. I have tried to use it a number of different ways and I always end up coming back to this brush. It's no good with a sponge. It's okay with your finger, but then you apply maybe a wee bit too much and then you have to spend time blending it out. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily the easiest to blend out, probably because it's not a particularly good match for my skin, so I have to work that bit harder to blend it out. But when I've used it on friends or clients, etc., I have still had to work just as hard, even though the colour match would be better. So it's not the easiest concealer to blend out. It is relatively creamy, which is good. I've used, you would have seen in the video, I used the lightest shade and the more salmon-y shade just next to it under my eyes. And just very quickly, I wouldn't recommend this for under your eyes. Although you can get a wee bit of coverage, it does crease quite badly underneath. I'm wondering, has it already, if I come forward, focus, you can maybe see where it is sunk in. Like, it does a nice enough, it has covered the blueness here and sort of the purple and things that I get, but I have to really, yeah, you can see if I stretch, let me just stretch my face. You can see it's settled into the creasing already, and that will get worse pretty quickly. You know, it'll be much more obvious, and I just generally tend to just use a finger really lightly, stretch my face, and just lightly blend it back in again, and hopefully get rid of a wee bit of the excess. But you don't want to be doing that during the day, and if you do that and you use slightly too much pressure, it ends up looking funny, I think is the best way of describing it. You can sort of see where I've done it a wee bit too much on one side. I come back in again. So on this side, it almost ends up looking scaly of itself just here, which is just not ideal really. And I have that problem a lot with this concealer. You just have to be so careful. It's so easy to go very wrong with it, and considering its budget, it's going to be, you know, more people may be picking it up, and they, like, I am no fancy makeup artist by any stretch of the imagination, but you just worry then that people would end up looking really cakey and then not hiding blemishes but making them a lot more obvious. You don't want to do that. Obviously with spot, you're trying to reduce the obviousness of the spot, not make it cakey and stick out in your face and sort of wave at people. It's not a good look. So not really particularly good for under your eyes. You have to be very careful when you do apply it to spots. It does provide some coverage because my chin is always red here, and it is definitely less red, but I'm just not entirely sure if I'm the biggest fan of this. It is, as I said, budget friendly, so it retails for £6 and you get 8 shades for that, so that's not bad. However, I'm not entirely sure if I would recommend this for your kit because it may not be the best quality, and if you are sort of doing clients and things, you don't want their makeup ending up looking awful after maybe only 2 to 3 hours. So that's just bad business if nothing else. But I'm aware if you're on a budget, it's hard. Save your money, save it for like a couple of months and get yourself one of the MAC concealer palettes. Now sadly I've not actually laid hands on those, but I have seen so many reviews and so many people like Sharon Farrell from Sharon the makeup artist, her channel, I have seen her use those a lot and she does rave about them and they are great. And I kind of wish I'd sort of waited, but I wanted to try a more budget friendly option. So let's do some swatching of these so you can see the shades that are available on my pretty pale skin. So we'll start with that. So this is the colour I used to conceal my spots. It is the lightest in the palette, and then I have the one beneath it and it is more salmon toned, and I mixed these two for under my eyes. This is the next top concealer and it's obviously much more salmon toned and a bit warmer and a wee bit darker. This is the one below, quite light by comparison, but it still has quite a warm tone to it. This is really quite a pinky salmony tone colour, which is actually lighter than this, which confused me initially. I thought they would be the other way around. This is quite similar to that one, so you know, maybe a bit of a duplication there, but that's the concealer that's below that on the palette. Obviously more salmon toned, warmer again. Now we have the two darkest shades in the palette. This is quite yellow toned, quite warm of itself, a bit darker, and then we have the darkest colour in the palette, quite a warm dark colour. Hopefully those showed up. It's hard to try and get good swatches and that many. So what I meant was, this is the first one, second one, third one, fourth one, fifth one, sixth one, seventh one, eighth one. I will obviously have a blog post so you'll be able to pair those up a bit better and have a good look. As you can see, it's an okay sort of range of colours. There doesn't seem to be any reason in how they're laid out on this, which is a bit weird. That's just the OCD in me, sort of, not OCD, that's a terrible thing to say, but that's just, I would prefer it to be better organised, and it's not. Sorry, I keep looking at the viewfinder. My camera's really starting to struggle with focus at the minute. Anyway, back to this. So £6 for 8 shades. I'm still not sure I would rush out to purchase another one of these palettes, because even though I would prefer to get some lighter shades, I'm just not entirely sold on how good they are or how bad they are. I want a palette that kind of does everything, you know, including under eyes and conceals the spots without making them look awful and all that kind of stuff. And it does break down, like I said, after about 2 to 3 hours, and it also expedites how quickly, it basically speeds up how quickly your foundation breaks down as well, which is not good. So you'll have patches of your foundation breaking down with the concealer, and it's just not a good look, really, frankly. So I wouldn't necessarily rush out to get it if you're absolutely expert at your concealer and you can blend anything out. And I've even tried pinpoint concealing, etc., and it's just so much harder with this palette. And although it's okay, I'm not entirely sure it's worth the hassle, you know, because it adds on, say, an extra 10 minutes to my day, just, you know, my makeup routine, just sorting out my concealer. It's not good, basically. I should be able to just conceal like I used to, touch it all up, make sure it's all good, rock on. Whereas now I have to sort of spend that wee bit of extra time, and then once I finish my face, I will go back and check to make sure my concealer doesn't look really obvious. So I have no confidence in the product, which is just not what you need. You want your concealer to just stay there, to look good, to blend in with your foundation and that sort of stuff. Now I've used it with my Dior foundation, which is quite sheer by comparison, you know, compared to some of my other foundations, just so it would be really obvious. But generally I wear my Dior foundation on a day-to-day basis because it's a bit lighter. I don't need that fuller coverage throughout the day. I don't really mind about my spots showing. I'm not that bothered about them, you know. But I won't be purchasing any of the other palettes, and I'm not sure I would recommend this for your kit because it's just maybe not the best thing, to be honest. I'm just staring at my arm of swatches. As I said, there will be a blog post so you can have a closer look at the swatches and decide for yourself, because it is only my opinion after all. I have normal combination oily skin. I've tried the concealer palette with my Dior Nude Skin foundation, which is my absolute favourite foundation at the minute. I have tried it with my the CoverGirl foundation that I have. I tried it with that, and it's actually really quite a good colour match for me. Well, not too bad actually, and it's really obvious on that. And I've tried it as well. I've started mixing two foundations, the number 7 Beautifully Matte foundation and the, what's it called? Oh, and the L'Oreal Infallible 24-hour matte. I've started mixing those just so I can use up both those foundations. And it's okay with them. It's a wee bit better, but it's an absolute nightmare on that blend of foundations actually to blend in. So it's not cricket really, it's just maybe not worth the hassle. If you get this to work really well for you, I would love to know. If you have been using a more budget friendly concealer palette, also really want to know, because I'm all about finding these things and making use of them. The more I would love a matte concealer palette. I'm aware not everybody can afford it, and you know, it's only makeup, so may as well try some of the more budget friendly options. If you have any questions, please let me know down below. Thanks a million for watching. Please like if you like, please subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!